Welcome to a podcast by Kayleigh, the gateway to unlocking your unlimited potential. I'm creating an army of 6- and 7-figure makeup artists, and I want you to join me. In this podcast, I'm going to be crushing gatekeeping, opening the doors to the knowledge you need, and deep diving into the topics that can push us to the next level. Be prepared for epic guests and answers to the questions you have always wanted to know. No more small business. No more just a makeup artist. The beauty industry is a $250 billion industry, and you're in it. Let's get ready to open those gates. This is a podcast by Kayleigh. Welcome back to a podcast by Kayleigh, and today is an episode of BTS Behind the Student, where we are talking to Bridal Makeup by Sam, also known as Sam Urben. This is the series where I talk to previous students of mine, current students of mine, or in today's case, Sam is a member of the Level Up Club. I've absolutely loved doing this series so far. I think it's really powerful to talk to not only people who have already had a really long and colourful journey in the makeup industry, but also those who are currently in the thick of it, in the middle of it. I think there is so much to be learned, but also to resonate with these artists that are hustling. And that is exactly what me and Sam talk about today. Me and Sam cover so many topics. Honestly, this was one of my longest podcast episodes because me and Sam are both talkers, and we talk about all sorts of things such as relationship and business partner breakdowns. We talk about hustle culture and why we are actually both pro-hustle, not pro-hustle culture, not to be confused. And we also talk about Sam's journey, what she's currently working on, how she got into makeup, as well as how she discovered me, how we started working together, and to give you an insight into somebody who has not been a mentorship student of mine, but is actually in the Level Up Club. She's a membership student. And I think that's a really different perspective that we haven't touched on yet. I hope you're loving this series as much as I am. It is so refreshing and wonderful to speak to students of mine. They give me such a different perspective on their learning. But I also hope that it is inspiring and useful for you guys to hear from somebody who is in the thick of it, who is hustling, who is having real active struggles right now. But anyway, enough talking. I want you to get prepared to fall in love with the incredible Sam Urben, also known as Bridal Makeup by Sam. I love that for you. For the listeners who can't see, Sam has turned up today with like an amazing Christmas tree behind her, and I've got a Shiba Inu and a dog cage.
I'm here for it.
Oh my gosh. So Sam, thank you so much for coming on today. Would you mind telling everybody how we met? How do we know each other? Give some context to how you're here today.
Okay. Oh, I love this story. I'll try not to give too much of the backstory because I'm sure we'll get into that. But I came to a professional crossroads at the start of this year and sort of battling mental health, professional development and home life. And I just had I had burnout, which loads of people I'm sure will be really familiar with. And someone had recommended me podcasts. Go for a dog walk, get some podcasts going, which is where I first found you. Oh my God, I fell in love. It's the first podcast for me. And I remember walking along Brighton Beach, because that's where I'm based. I'm sat on the south, walking along the beach, saying out loud, yeah, I'm not just a makeup artist. Yeah. And I felt so alive and I felt buzzing. So then, of course, I binged hard like a Netflix series. And then there's just a few snippets in between, like the Level Up Club. And the bit that always made me laugh was where you say, that's a hot chocolate in London. I'm not even kidding. And I'm like, yeah, I can invest. I should invest. I should do. So that's how I found you. I found your podcasts first, and then the beautiful adverts through the pods about the Level Up Club. And then that must have been, I was trying to think when I joined now, it must have been June, July. I never looked back.
Honestly, so when I've interviewed Yamina and Jacqueline, and you're kind of the third community member that I've interviewed. And it's always so like strangely uncomfortable for me, to just hear these things. Honestly, I'm like, but that's so funny because I didn't know that you actually found the podcast first. I had no idea.
Yep. I always think that's really nice to know, isn't it, where your clients are coming from, I guess. But yeah, I was from the pod and it was the adverts and it was the hot chocolate line. It used to make me laugh every time. And I thought, so true, you know. I think I signed up trying to get to grips because I don't think I used it properly until I joined Telegram and became part of the community group. So for me, it was always just used to dial in for the classes, the master classes that you do. And I loved the Q&As. And then Telegram came and I was like, oh my God, I've been wasting so much of this. The community support is probably my favorite thing. As I'm not sure whether you saw that whilst you were away, there are a couple of things that came up for me that I can just dip into the group and be like, guys, I've got this situation. How would you deal with this? And it's really nice to have like-minded people. I've always been in the headspace that there's no such thing as competition because there is enough business for everyone. And I've been really lucky with who I've met along the years, but I know so many stylists that haven't. So it's so nice to be able to be like, guys, like, this is really tricky. How would you handle this? And, I can ask my husband, but he doesn't, people don't understand, do they? Whereas the community that you've built, they're all very much in it. Yeah. So I think Telegram and the girls side of it has been awesome for me.
Oh, so pleased to hear that. I think you're either like a Telegram lover or you absolutely loathe it. Like for anybody listening who's not sure what Telegram is, it's kind of basically a WhatsApp, like a different version of it. And I think you're either a group chat person or you're most definitely not a group chat person. And that group chat is lively, right?
Yeah, but do you know what I think is really cool about it is that it doesn't matter if you dip out for a few days. And, I've done that before, or I've been away for a weekend and then I'll come back in, I'll have muted all my notifications, come back in, and there might be, hundreds. Okay. So if I don't have time to read through it, that's all right. There's no shame, there's no hate. You just carry on, which is what I really like. I've definitely done that. And if I'm present and able to contribute and be involved, I do. I like that there is absolutely no pressure. You don't have to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think that's 100% the right attitude. Like, use it on your own terms. You do not have to respond to every single thing. It's just there for what you need it for.
Yes.
So what I would love to know then, the classic podcast question, because you deserve to be asked this question. We want to hear your story, Sam. So can you tell us your story into makeup?
I would love to. Such a cliche. I've always been very creative. So my mum was a hairdresser and a beautician. So I always grew up with a love of creativity. My first job was a Saturday girl in a hairdresser's. So I actually thought I would end up in hair, not makeup. But as my love of creativity grew, I actually ended up with just a really good kit because I had a bit of a problem spending, truth be told. I don't think that ever left me. I was self-taught until about 2013, and then I went to a couple of short academies just to get courses so I could practice and have my liability insurance and such. The first wedding I ever worked on was I had an old friend who was a hairdresser, and I used to go with her and hold her pins, cull hair, and she'd pick up, a couple a year through her clients. And she got called to an emergency wedding, so she'd woken up at, say, 6 a.m. And this was back in 2013. And the lady that messaged her hairdresser had cancelled on the day. Can you help? I've got no hairdresser, and it was a local venue. And she rang me in the morning. I said, well, I've got my daughter who was only like 8 months old. Don't care. Bring her. They don't care. So we rushed and saved the day. And Kayleigh, honestly, it was amazing. It was unreal. And I'm such a hopeless romantic. That's probably my biggest, I'm just Disney. I am all Disney. And being in a room full of so much love, I found it really overwhelming. And it was just gorgeous. When we left, I was I knew I'd found something that I was supposed to be doing. It was like a puzzle piece for me. So we formed a little company. So my old friend was hairdresser. I just lent in straight into makeup because I already had a little bit of a kit. And we made a little baby brand, did a few weddings every year. We tried some wedding shows and it was great. And I loved it. And it gave me some solid experience, but it was always my side hustle. So I as you'll be aware, but for the other girls in the group that maybe aren't, I was in a corporate job as a project manager for just over a decade. So my makeup had always been a side hustle. And that was the exact terminology. I'm just a makeup artist and it's just my side hustle. And it probably wasn't until I got to the point. So the friend and I both parted ways a few years ago. And I started at the start of 2021. So just post-COVID, I had a complete rebrand to go as a solo makeup artist. So not part of a duo. That lady wasn't doing weddings anymore. And I wanted to do more. I knew I found something that I feel like I'm supposed to do this for a job. So 2021 is probably where I count the mentality switch of growing from a side hustle to actually I've got a business here that this has legs, this has got something. Hustled all of 2021 to 2022, same sort of story. And then the start of this year, I had real burnout. So I was doing, I'd be working 4 days a week, full-time hours though. Then I would pick up my daughter from school. Then I would come home and sort the dogs, dinner, husband. I'd go out to my studio in the garden and I would do lashes or trials. And, so most days were 14-hour days. And I reached that point where I was like, I'm not present. I'm not able to show up for everyone. And something had to give. At that point, I was at loggerheads with my boss and I wanted more for less, as we all do. And my husband was like, it's time. It is time. What are you doing? This is crazy. Do it. So I'm really lucky because he's such an amazing advocate. He's so supportive. Had he not given me that shove, I don't know that I would have done, but it was all around this time that I found your podcast. So I really believe in the universe telling me, and I was ready. So between you, my husband and the pod, everything just lined for me. So yeah, from 2021 to now, 2021, I just wrote to the girls recently, 2021, I started that year with 8 weddings in the diary. And this year I'll finish on 45 weddings in a year.
Wow.
And I'd never stopped to actually look at the progression and think, well, yay me, that's bloody great.
I'd actually love to know, as a side note, what do you think of the word hustle? Because you said you hustled for 2 years and it is down to your hustle that you created the business and the results that you have. But what do you think of that word hustle?
I love it. I think for me, it means grafting. If I am hustling, that means I am grafting. I am not work shy. I never have been. So I love it. I think it's I know what you're saying because I know a lot of people don't, but for me, it's exactly how I would describe how I got here, because I hustled. I said yes to everything. I would work till silly o'clock. And, when I wasn't working out in the studio, I'd be in on my laptop, rebranding my website for the millionth time or content planning. It's constant.
The reason I actually wanted to ask about your thoughts on the word hustle, because I feel like hustle kind of has a little bit of a bad rep right now. You've seen like Kim Kardashian when she said that quote, "Get your ass up and work," the quote. And she got a lot of hate for that. And I kind of think hustle culture, not great. Hustle seasons, we need them. I would not have half the things that I have if I had not sat down and hustled for a season or 2.
Totally. And I think there's so much shame to that. And you're made to feel guilty. My dad, I came from a single parent working household. So I was at home with my mum. My dad went out to work. So I've always had a lot of guilt thrown at me for how much I work. But I'm building something. I want my daughter to have 2 holidays in a year. I want to be able to, take us out for a roast on Sunday. Or I took my husband to New York last year and I saved for a year for that trip. And I did that. I surprised him with tickets to Madison Square Garden. I planned that trip and I did that because I'd hustled. So I think it should be celebrated that, you can see the big picture. I don't think that having to hustle to get to where you want to, I think that shows grit and determination.
I feel like I want to really ask you about that hustle period, because I feel like there's going to be some artists in the club and just listening who look at that. They're currently on their kind of 8 weddings a year and they would dream of 45 plus. So let's help them get there. So what would you say during that hustle period? What were some of the things that you did that you would credit for maybe like what worked for you?
I think that the majority of my clients and even new weddings are recommendations. And we all spend so much time, myself included, trying to build our followers and get our Instagram inquiries. But I would say 90% of my weddings come from, you did blah blah's wedding that I know. So I would say that in my definitely the first few years or since 2021, when I really count it from, I showed up. There was someone you interviewed on your podcast that I resonated so highly with because our energies are exactly the same. Carly Joe, I am the wedding bestie. So I am the WhatsApp hype woman. I'm whatever they need me to be. I have changed nappies on a wedding morning. I have, held crying babies. I've entertained children. I have fixed hair. I have helped sewn dresses. my personality, I'm a Sagittarius. I am a perpetual people pleaser. So whether it's 8 weddings or 45, I show up. Every single wedding is important to me because every single wedding is another wedding. And that's how I have always treated my business. I think the second that you turn up to anywhere and it's work dread, that's not a good day. That's not for you. You're not doing what you love. I can wholeheartedly say I have never in over 10 years had a wedding that I've dreaded, not once. And that's really lucky. And I don't mean that as like humble brag, but I think that is because because they all, most of mine are recommendations. So I attract a certain type of client. And even if there's one, like, I mean, maybe last year I had a bride that I don't think I connected with as deeply, maybe, but beautiful wedding. She was so happy. The day was gorgeous. I give everything I have to a wedding, and that might be, things that are outside the realms of normal, just turning up and doing makeup. I had one this year that I had to collect the bridesmaids. You might have listened to the voice note in the group chat. I collected a bridesmaid because the bride couldn't get access to a venue before a certain time, and she had a big bridal party. So whatever I can do, or you can do, whoever's listening to this, whatever you can do to make their morning that little bit better. It doesn't have to just be makeup. Sometimes someone just needs 5 minutes or a tissue, or I don't know. But I would say that is my hustle. That's showing up, not just email confirmation. You might have a little chat on FaceTime, trial, booking. No, I am there. They book me, they get all of me. And that might be a WhatsApp a month before saying, oh my God, in a few weeks' time, you can say your wedding's this month. I am the ultimate hype woman.
Oh my God, Sam, there's no ring on this finger. But when there is, I think I need you. So obviously, any journey in business is not smooth sailing, like 100% of the time. I think when I think back to building my business, there were a lot of things that I actually didn't do right. There were a lot of things that I did quite wrong. Have you ever had any experiences like that where when you were building up to the 45, was there any missteps that you took that you can recommend newer artists? Don't do that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I've always sort of tried to perceive these, and again, I'm always careful with my language because they're mistakes, but for me they're lessons, and that's how I've always had to be. Like, so when something goes wrong, and this is my husband, he works for a corporate, so he will say, "Where's the lesson in that?" And actually, it's such good practice. Quite like when you leave a wedding and you do like your review, what worked, what didn't, what could you have done differently. I'm always doing that in business, always, and I probably would say this year is the year I literally leveled up, and that is since joining the platform, because there's all the things that all my pain points were sort of really quickly uncovered in your interviews and in the Level Up Club. Contracts, okay, that was the first thing. Getting a contract, I bought mine online and then I changed it to suit my business and my business needs. And even now, that's still ever changing. So I had a wedding at the start. Well, she booked it a few years ago. So she was just a COVID bride. Wedding was this year, booked it for 8 people. By the time the wedding rolled around, 4 people. So that halves that booking. For me, my lesson in there was, okay, what can I do to protect that income? And now my contract terms have changed, and I have I work on a commitment contract, which it was put out there as a bit of a test because I wanted to see what pushback I got. Absolutely none, not one pushback. This Lisa, who is the creator of Creative Freedom, the CRM system, her policy was always what you book is what you pay for. And actually people don't quibble it. So I'd written that into my contract. So I would say, getting a contract should be the first thing to protect yourself, your income, and it also makes you it separates you from just everybody else, just Joe Blogs Makeup who's doing it out of her living room. Well, you might be doing it out of your living room, but you've got contracts, you've got policies, and people like that. I would say a CRM system, because before I started using Creative Freedom, there had been situations where I'd never double booked, luckily, but only because my admin process was so long and thorough. So I'd taken a booking and a deposit for a wedding day, and then I booked a trial in that morning. So with my CRM system, that can't happen now. That's physically not possible. But I only uncovered that from having, doing my confirmation emails. And back then I was using Google Drive, Canva, a spreadsheet bookings. So I would say the second biggest lesson for me was a CRM system. And that has, like you, given me back hours of time. The thing is, when you first think, you think it's going to be hundreds of pounds, but it really isn't. And I don't know about, I know you use Studio Ninja. Creative Freedom was recommended to me by another hairdresser who I've done lots of work with. Her name's Megan. Amazing. And she's done lots of mentoring stuff, which is, again, another recommendation from her. It's about £25 a month. You don't have to commit. So I was like, I've got nothing to lose. If I can't invest £25 in my business, I'm never going to grow. That's 2/3 of a hot chocolate in London.
And we quote, not even kidding. I get a lot of messages about this hot chocolate quote, right? So this is just setting the record straight about this. So I'm the queen of hot chocolate. Okay. I'm an absolute child. I cannot drink coffee. It makes me like this. And I have tried almost every single hot chocolate in London. And there is one specific one called Dark Sugars. There is a branch in Greenwich and there is a branch in Shoreditch. And the hot chocolates are obscenely expensive, but I am telling you, heaven. But that is where it comes from. Like 2 hot chocolates does cost you like 17 quid.
We went to Paris years ago and I paid €12 for a cappuccino. It was very pleasant. It wasn't the best I've had, but girls got to do what you got to do. I'm here for it.
That's it. So we are setting the record straight. Hot chocolates are expensive in London, but it was very good. So I'd actually love to touch on your self-development journey, because I know me and you have spoke a little bit about kind of coaching and all of the investments that you've made into your business. And I feel like this is a really good part of the episode where we can talk about that. You've mentioned just then, if you cannot invest £23 a month into a CRM system, like, why are we in business, guys? I think this was a big mindset shift that I made like just before COVID, in that it was Planoly. Planoly was my version of this. If I couldn't spend £10 a month on an app that saves me so much time scheduling my social media, then I should not be in business.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk about investing. So what major investments have you made in your business that you think have really paid off?
Well, no major investments, and I really have to stress that, because I left my full-time corporate job this year and to my wedding business. So that's a very big gap in salary. Of course it is. Enough. I mean, we're fine, but still, I wouldn't have been in the position. And, I'm mid-30s. I'm not a sensible saver. So for me, it's just building on what I've got. My CRM system, which was not a big investment, 25 quid a month. I have the Level Up Club, which is super easy. £30 a month is a bargain for what we get from you. It's just so grateful, so grateful. I also am part of the Christina Gasparas online educational platform, because that's a thing that I've really looked at this year. Whereas perhaps the last 2 years, I think, where I've been so busy hustling, my development took that back seat. So this year it's all been about me learning, and I spend an awful lot of time now listening to podcasts and lots of different debates. So podcasts. I also have got sorry, my dog's about to bark.
I heard the tiniest grumble.
You hear there's thunder? Oh, that's thunder. So a CRM system, education, because I do think that's really important. My thing for the new year is masterclasses. I'd really like to start teaching them, and I'm interested in dipping a toe into the educational space. But I can't do that without having been on masterclasses myself. Investing in your business doesn't have to look like spending thousands of pounds building things for you. There is a huge wealth of things online for business tools. So I would say that this last certainly 6 months, I have invested a lot more of my time into my business. I got my car branded, which seems really silly, but actually I get a lot of compliments. I get people that will tag me on Instagram. There was a local florist that tagged me and said, "I spy Bridal Makeup by Sam getting her morning coffee." For me, that's That cost like 500 quid, not even that. So that was probably the biggest outlay that I had to physically spend. But that has more than paid itself off in social media, in recommendations, people talking about it. I've had people stop me in petrol stations saying, I bet you love what you do, don't you? That must be so exciting. I'm like, oh, I love it. Yeah. I'm quite lucky because all of my background was for a print company or an industrial graphic. So I have always worked within an industry that builds brands and helps create exposure, and be that via a product. And my best friend's a marketing guru, so I feel like that helps too.
It pays off. Like when I think of how reluctant I was to do that, and then now I think fast forward, the time that I get is worth like that £10 quadrupled, right? Have there been any investments that you've made that haven't perhaps paid off in the way that you wanted them to?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So when I went solo 2021, I bought loads of followers, because for me it was a bit, I did. I bought a lot of Instagram. I mean, like 1,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook, probably about that. And for me, it was optics. It was, I wanted people to land on my page and think, oh, she looks like she's got engagements. And I would say that was probably, for me, felt like I'd sold a piece of my soul. It's so ridiculous. But because I've painstakingly removed all bots over the last few months, because the algorithm punishes you for this, right? I spent a lot of time reading about shadow bans, saying, why aren't I growing? Why aren't people seeing that? That was a bad investment. Be patient, I would say. Be patient.
Sam, that's so brave of you to admit, because I know, like, I've got really close friends who have bought followers and they will be adamant to this day that they've never bought them. But for you to come on a platform and say, I bought them, it didn't work out, that's so brave.
We are, as people, we're fickle, and we are. I have friends that the first thing they would do is go onto a gram and go, oh, they've got 10,000 followers. The first, that's almost like it's a depiction of how successful that business is. But I don't have thousands of followers. I have maybe 1,200 followers. It's nothing. But those people engage and want to see what I'm doing, and that's actually way nicer than having 2,000 bots that don't exist or aren't interested in seeing my content. I would rather have 30 people that care about and want to listen to what I have to say than none.
Yes, yeah. And when you put that into, this is some advice from Storm. Storm said to me once, imagine like, so say you've got 100, 200 followers. Imagine all them people in a room.
I know. My God, it would be insane. The thought of talking to 10 people at a masterclass fills me with complete fear. There's 1,000 people on there that would that could tune in and listen. So it's a great advice, great way of looking at it.
Yeah. Please, if you are ever tempted as like a mentor myself, please don't buy them. Please.
Don't buy them. Don't listen. I did it. I've done it. I've tried it for you. Don't do it. Waste of time.
Proof in the pudding with Sam right now. So just because I'm so intrigued by this, like they don't do anything. They do nothing. Nothing.
And you see this flurry of activity coming in, you go, oh my God, this is what it must be like to be famous. Oh my God, I'm going viral. And then when you look and it's like you've done this on a keyboard, .1, and that will be a name. And you're like, no, it's not a human. They do nothing. It's literally optics. And you can click onto the account and it will say, here's a pretend photograph and no followers, or following 80 million people, no followers. It's insane. But that's how the algorithm spots it. They know. So if you've solely got accounts just full of bots, you'll be shadow banned. So your efforts are pointless. So yeah, I would just say don't do it. Don't waste your time. And also don't put that pressure on yourself, because I do this. I can't take my own advice, I should add, but how amazing that Lindsay has just reached 1 million hits on a couple of her reels. Absolutely, just buzzed for her. It's incredible. I'm lucky if I get 200 hits on a video, 200 watches. And so when I can make that comparison, think, why aren't I there? Okay, I'm not there, but that doesn't mean I won't be. And there might be things that in my journey that Lindsay isn't doing that she might be. Like, I really struggle with that comparison. And that is, you asked earlier about lessons. That's probably my biggest one, is that I really struggle with comparing myself to others and looking at what other people at like levels of success and thinking, oh, well, I want to be there. Why aren't I there yet? Rather than actually just sitting happy where I am. Depends what day you ask me, because today I'm really happy where I am.
This podcast is brought to you by the Level Up Club, my monthly membership for makeup artists. Imagine a place created with done-for-you monthly resources and coaching, literally everything you need to create and scale a profitable, thriving makeup business. Well, it exists, and it's called the Level Up Club. I am so proud of this membership. I literally poured my heart and soul into it. Inside, you will find monthly Canva templates, monthly stock images, social media calendars, email templates, workflows, pro program lists, agency lists, monthly coaching and conversations with the people who can help smash gatekeeping. I'm talking agency owners, PRs, top makeup artists and experts. They're all inside. And not only that, but monthly in-person events. We have already held portfolio days, headshot days, branding days, and so much more is coming. The club is taking the mystery out of making money. Your makeup business doesn't have to be make-believe, and I'm showing you how. And guess what? It's only £30 a month. In London, that's literally 2 hot chocolates. I'm not even kidding. So come and join us, the only membership I promise you'll ever need. Now, back to the pod. Just know, everybody listening, everybody feels like this at some point. Like, we all compare ourselves, especially as artists. I think as an artist, you put a bit of your soul into whatever you've created, whether it's a reel, put a little bit of you in that. And it can be really soul destroying when you see somebody just doing better. You know, it hurts, but it's easier said than done. Try to only compare yourself to who you were yesterday, but it's so hard, isn't it? So earlier on, you mentioned, obviously, this has been your year where you're focusing on yourself and your development. And obviously, you did mention earlier on that you went through a little bit of burnout. And I feel like everybody who goes through burnout, they have this revelation that you need to focus on you. Can you tell us a little bit about that and that kind of the journey into just taking care of yourself?
Wow. Yes, I can. And I'm very open about my mental health journey. So 2021, or the start of, is where I say I branded as a solo, and that's where I really went for it on my own. And that came off the back of a very toxic relationship ending professionally and personally. The lady I was in business, so we parted quite dramatically. So that first year I was grieving, well, first 2 years, I was grieving, working and trying to be a mum and trying to wear all these too many hats. And I would say it was this year that it all came to head. What I did was I've been medicated for a very long time. I was postnatal with my daughter and I'd been on antidepressants for a long, long time. And then throughout this particular period in my life where I was hustling because I had this drive of wanting to beat the person that I'd, had that falling out with and wanting to be best, that I lost a piece of me. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I was so hell-bent on being better that I lost sight of everything that for me is really important. My husband is very supportive. I've got a beautiful group of friends that could not speak more highly of me. And I think I had this epiphany, this realization that actually I need to be better. I need to try harder. What do I do? And then this exercise that I'd done off the back of a podcast, which was just looking at my life. What do I spend all my time doing? What brings me joy? What makes me sad? What can I work on? And the catalyst for me was my boss, my old boss. He was incredibly intense, zero boundaries. I would leave the office to pick my daughter up from school and I'd come home and be on calls to China until 6 p.m. I remember being on Skype calls on Boxing Day because that's the expectation. So it was an insane amount of pressure. The relationship we had was very similar to the relationship that I had with my friend that separated. So just narcissistic, very unhealthy, very toxic, very intense. And I realized that if I just remove that, I've got all this weight lifted. That's the best way I could explain it. So I left that job, which was in itself an absolute ordeal, and I started self-care. So I started listening to podcasts. I started exercising more. I take vitamins. I journal. I meditate. And I came off my antidepressants 6 months ago. So I now just live a really, what I say, wholesome, healthy, normal. I feel the most normal I felt in a really long time. And for me, just removing those toxic removing myself from toxic environments that's what's driven that. I have this thing about work dread. I won't entertain work dread. And the second that I have dread before a wedding, or that, or I start to have those kind of feelings towards what I do, I'll change that, because I won't do 10 years of what I've done where it's all consuming. And now I'm present and I show up for my daughter, and I'm a wife, and I see my friends. I'm running a great business that just brings me so much joy. So it's toxicity, and it happens everywhere. I know that there's girls in the Level Up Club that aren't at that point yet where they can, but do it as soon as you physically can, because that, for me, removing myself from that environment, that toxicity has made me a better businesswoman. It's made me be able to show up authentically for my clients. Like I said earlier, every single wedding, I'm fully there. And I think that's because I've done so much work on myself this year. I really believe that as people, we are always changing. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago. I would say that this year is the first year that I can really say that, having done the work, journaling, meditating, podcasting, surrounding myself by people that make me happy, that has made me a completely different person. And now I'm in a better position to show up for my clients. That makes me better in my business.
No, I was like enthralled with that. That was so like beautiful and sad, and I'm just really proud of you. Oh my God, I had no idea that you went through all that. Can we talk a little bit about that breakdown?
Yeah.
Really like to touch on that, because I feel like everyone listening has had some sort of breakdown, whether it be with a spouse, a friend, a business partner. It's something that can really, really affect you. Like you just said, I had to have a ton of therapy after my previous relationship broke down. And I still think to this very day, a lot of what I do, and I have to try and teach myself out of this a little bit, but sometimes that relationship is why I sometimes work so hard, because I'm trying to prove someone.
I can't tell you how many things that I've achieved in the last few years. And the first thing that I would have come home and said to my husband was, I can't wait till she hears about that. She'll hate it. And actually, now that I'm not that version of myself, I think being kind to myself, I think that's a reaction because you're hurt, because I'm not that person. I'm not that person now, but my God, there was so many. She became my driver and my boss. And now my old business, my old friend and my old boss became my driver for success. And that's not what I want. I am a success, and I will continue to be a success because of what I bring to my business, not in spite of people that have put me there. And it's also really hard to be in that headspace. But one of the podcasts that I listened to from the Manifestation Collective is actually, I'm thankful, because even though that relationship was toxic and the way it ended was awful and a lot of people got hurt, I'm thankful because I never would have found my love of bridal without her. I never would have had my foot in the industry without her. And I think that the way that relationship and our business ended has made me better. Like I said, it's made me better because I've had to do that work on myself. And now everyone benefits from that.
I love that. I love that perspective. I know that there's probably some people listening who are in maybe the depths of toxicity, like with someone, whether it be, even sometimes your parents, which is, so hard.
We've been there, haven't we, though? You can't make a career out of that. You can't do that that's not a real job. We've all heard it, haven't we?
Oh my God, yeah.
You're just a hairdresser, or you're just a makeup artist. Stop it. That's not a job. You're painting faces. We've all been subjected to it.
For anybody listening who might not know that they're in a toxic relationship or a toxic friendship, are there signs? Like what made you realize
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back now, there was lots of red flags that it's like when you first start dating someone, don't you? You just ignore them. When we were in business together, we were very different personalities. And I think in lots of ways, we really complemented each other. So she was quite quiet and would come across almost standoffish, but she was really shy. So I would make excuses. And that was my first sort of sign. And it's Taylor's oldest time when you confront a bully, they don't like it, right? Ours came to head because I wanted a really frank conversation and she didn't. So sometimes just facing up is enough. And the reaction gives you everything you need. For me, it was, hey, we need to have a chat. My reaction was, I'm not coming. I don't need this shit. That for me solidified that what our relationship was not what it was, and that we were very, very different people. So it doesn't always need to be a catalyst, but sometimes just the confrontation should be enough. And also ask yourself how you feel when you're around that person. As I've got older, I've got lots of different pockets of friends. I don't have this enormous group. I have lots of pockets of people that every time I see them, I feel richer for somehow. I've enjoyed something. They all bring something to me. Like my best friend, one of my best friends, Georgia, she will tell me she loves me every time I speak to her on the phone without fail. She'll say, I love you so much every time. Or my friend Fleur, who will always ask how I am despite whatever she's going through. And my friend Katie, that she had a mental breakdown last year, but would still find the time to show up for me with something baked if I've had a bad day. And when you start having people like that in your life that add so much value, it really shines a light on the ones that don't. And I read the really famous Vex King book that was probably pivotal for my recovery, as I called it, my grieving. It's okay to step away from people like that. If people don't bring you something that you can work with, we outgrow people. My friend says people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And it's so profound, but it's so apt. The proof is in the pudding. Look at who you are spending your time with, like who brings value, who makes you feel good in yourself, who is championing your business. Aside from you, who has your back, who shares your posts, who likes your pictures, who wants you to succeed, they're the people that you want in your life. And it's okay to gently remove yourself away from the ones that don't.
Oh, I love this. This part here is probably my favorite part.
So wholesome, but they're hard conversations, aren't they? Right? Nobody wants to talk about the things that hurt them. I am a very open person. I've been blessed. I've had a really lovely life. I have great people in it, and that was a period of my life that I really struggled in. Also, that's okay, because that's made me better now.
Oh, Sam, you're so good at this. You should start a podcast of your own.
It'd be really interesting to hear how I sound, because I think I'm quite Marge Simpson. I think I'm quite husky.
You have a tiny husk. You'd be good at this. The reason that I kind of wanted to poke a little bit in that subject is because I did have a student in the mentorship program a few years ago. And it made me really sad because as a mentor, you don't get involved in like the personal things. Like you can give your opinion on it if it's asked, but me as a mentor, it's not my business to talk to to tell them to ditch their friends. Okay. That's just not my business. My business is the business of business. And she said one day, we were talking about Instagram. And I said, you're very quiet on it. You barely post any stories. Have you thought about, like, let's be real, your stories and how active you are on the gram directly correlates with how visible you are. Like that, that's the physics of Instagram. And she said, oh, Kayleigh, I'm just so... I just don't want to. And I prodded that a bit. I was like, what are your blocks around this? Because it could be a number of things. It'd be confidence and things that I can teach on. And she came out and said, it's my friends. My friends just take the piss out of anything I post. If I post, if I post promoting myself or if I post, something educational, like she really wanted to go into like talking about foundations and products and things like that. And she said, if I ever post about that, they bring up like, oh, who does she think she is? And
no, she needs new friends. She needs new friends.
She needed new friends. And I did say, exactly what you said, that these people, that circle should be the ones who are like, what you are posting is fucking sick. Like, you're so good at this. Like,
and then sharing that, like, look what my friend's doing. Look how cool she is. Look, she knows stuff. Oh, that's just...
It made me really sad. And to this day, that student still doesn't really show up on social media. And it makes me sad every time she might post one thing, because I'm like, girl, like, you're so good. You're so good. And you don't know it because you've got a shit friendship group.
And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about imposter syndrome. Everyone that has that, oh, why would they care what I want to say? Oh God, what if they laugh at me? That is other people that has put that there. That's not, we all believe in our own artistry, or we wouldn't be running businesses from it. We wouldn't be painting faces. If we weren't confident in our abilities, we wouldn't be doing it. But somehow when it comes to sharing that knowledge or talking about stuff, we have this, oh no, people laugh, or it all goes, it's other people. It's other people that do this to us. The whole idea of going live on Instagram terrifies me. And it's exposing yourself. We said at the start of this call, it's exposing yourself to the comments and to the hate. And people are cruel. We just all need to be a bit thicker skin, because there's far more many nice people than there are mean ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And coming from I wouldn't say I'm huge by any means, but coming from somebody who's got a following, maybe I can hand on heart say that there's not as many haters as you think there's going to be. And when you do get one, when one comes out of the woodwork, for me personally, it's like laughable. You got to just laugh at the fact that somebody has taken the time to be that silly. So
what I just said to Lindsay, I was like, that means you're big enough now that someone's gonna comment. Congratulations. That should be celebrated.
yes, for some context, one of our members in the Level Up Club, Lindsay, she went viral. She got 1 million views on, I think, 2 of her posts,
Two
right?
posts? Yes, girl.
2 posts, which is insane. And obviously some people crept out of the woodwork and said some not so pleasant things. A simple mindset switch is, if you are scared of haters or scared of like putting yourself out there and getting hate, try and switch your mindset to aim to get some hate, because it will push you so much further. Like for me, I want to aim to get a couple of haters because it means I'm doing something right.
I have to be really careful with my mindset, because I think I have a really powerful mind. So if I sit in a positive mindset, I achieve such good things, such great things. It's very easy for me to slip into that version of myself where I was like, I can't wait till that person sees that. Or the biggest successes in my whole career, my biggest driving force was the revenge, and I couldn't wait for her to see it. And that makes me sad, because that was my celebration. That was my takeaway. And it was an insane opportunity. And all I could think about was, I can't wait for that. And it soiled it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like my ex called me a gold digger, which was completely insane. But one of my big driving things was actually, I want to earn more than him so that I can prove to him that I'm not a gold digger. When I'm not a gold digger, like I have to remind myself of that quite a lot even now, because healing is not a one and done thing. But even when I got to the point where I earned more than him, I shouldn't be celebrating him. I should be celebrating me.
Well, that's the thing. It isn't one and done, and there will always be days. It just creep in and just get you. And that's okay, because when people are significant enough that they haven't disappeared off the face of the planet, it is human nature. We will always revert back to, but as long as it's course correction, isn't it? So as long as we can recognize the behavior and be like, no, that's not. We don't need to be in that headspace. We can celebrate what we did. Like here.
Yes. Oh, Sam, I've so enjoyed this. Are you ready to play Smashing the Gate?
I didn't know to play this too. Oh my God, yes. Yes, I'm ready, Kayleigh.
Shout out Johnny T. Getting close to the mic.
Sorry, I mean, if he listens to this, oh my God, please, Johnny, slide into my DMs, because, oh, please.
Smashing the Gate. We've got some questions for you, Sam. So are you ready for the quick fire round?
I am ready.
Let's do it. First of all, controversial question. Favorite biscuit?
Oh, what a good question. White chocolate digestive. I didn't really even need to think about that.
This is such a British question. Nobody abroad cares about this question.
Tea and biscuits. Are you even British if you don't like tea with biscuits? No.
Oh my gosh. So you asked Jacqueline that question, right?
What did she say? I can't wait to hear.
I'm not going to tell you because it's so controversial.
I cannot wait. It better be something crap like a wagon wheel, because that's not a biscuit. It needs to be something good. Strong biscuit.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Right. Favorite self-development podcasts or resources other than the Level Up Club?
I love the Manifestation Collective. You had her on very recently as a guest, and I've listened to a lot of hers the last couple of months. I really like hers. I also love Diary of a CEO. Not all of them. I have to be in the right mindset for those, because they're so straight laced. And podcasts for me are escapism. So I love to feel really good. And when I listen to your podcast and the manifestation ones, I leave like feeling energized. So Probably those two. And also reading. I've got quite into reading. I do love a book. Vex King's Good Vibes is my Bible. It's helped me through some tough times, but I probably read it a couple of times a year because I just love it so much. Yeah, so I would say those.
What is your favourite Level Up Club resource? Like, what is something in the Level Up Club that is like your favourite thing?
The classes. Definitely your master classes. I think that the guests that I had followed Marissa Grace for a while before she appeared on the podcast, and then to hear that you were interviewing her, oh my God. And the fact that I spoke to her, total fangirl. I was like, what's your favourite blusher? I was honestly, I felt myself go really pink when I asked her. So I would say the classes, so the interaction, and there's an enormous variety. So yeah, not just the interview ones, they're great. And I think it's awesome that we get that opportunity to pitch in and be in on those interviews, not just, you send us live recordings. The Telegram community, I lean on that a lot for my quick guys. What would you say in this situation, or how would you respond? And I think that's really nice. I'm yet to do a portfolio day, but next year is my year. I can't wait. I can't believe I missed out on the retreat. I was gutted because I'm in Sussex, so it's really near. So the next one, watch this space.
What is your biggest advice for a new baby makeup artist right now?
If you're not already, join a community like the Level Up Club. Community is really important. Investing in obviously what you can, but I would say the CRM system, some kind of education, because you can't and won't ever know it all. So look at where you can add value to your business. CRM, a mentor if you can make that work. I would invest in your businesses as early as you can, CRM systems and mentorships, because that then all the other stuff comes off the back of that, contract, websites. I feel like that's all under mentorship.
What is your cannot live without makeup product in your kit?
Oh no, just one. Makeup by Mario's palette. I bought that last November when I went to New York, and my husband could not believe the price of a palette. And I said, I'm telling you now, this will be the best thing that I own. And it is. I've used it almost at every wedding. It's one of my most loved palettes.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Mario's products. Oh, chef's kiss. That was a chef's kiss, guys. What is next for you, Sam? Now, I know that you mentioned earlier on that you wanted to get more into the educational space. So I would love to hear, what's next for you? What are we manifesting?
Well, I've been working this year on a brand launch, which has been kept very, very low key, but it's nearly there. It will launch, I would think, by early spring of next year. My daughter is 11 years old, and this is where my interest in the education space has come, because there is no one teaching my daughter's generation age appropriate makeup, skin habits, that there is nowhere like that. I mean, other than TikTok, but there's no one paving that way. So that was my initial. I wanted to be going into early secondary schools, showing kids, this is how you look after your skin. This is the sort of makeup you should be applying. I met a 9-year-old girl for a birthday party, and then I saw her 3 years later, and she had severe acne and was using double wear, Estee Lauder double wear, age 13. And here's the kicker, washing her face with a face wipe. So there's a huge gap there. Nobody's showing the way. And then I thought, off the back of that, there's nowhere that you can go for simple skincare. So as a mum, I would love to be able to go to some kind of a store and say, right, okay, my first cleansing kit, or my first this. Any store you go to, there is just such an overwhelm of products. I know Johnny T's one really goes into the ingredients, but most people don't. You just look at, there's a huge array of things and you don't know what to use. So I've got a skincare brand that's in development. It's still in testing stages, but it's for junior use. So you would be able to buy my first cleanser, and it would be a cleanser, a toner, and a baby moisturizer.
So can we just hold up a sec? You're launching a skincare brand. Is this what you're telling me right now?
Yes, I know that was a really long answer again. I'm really sorry.
Sam, you've kept that incredibly quiet. That's huge.
I really hope it will be, Kayleigh. I really believe in it, but it's not easy. And it was what I found so interesting on, because Johnny T's doing very similar things. I'm doing white label. This is why I think I was supposed to have worked at my last job for so long, because I did production. I worked for a manufacturer, so I know how to source. I know how to project manage. So I was like, this is why this all makes sense. So they're Northern Europe based. They make the formula dermatologically tested, and then I brand it and market it. So it's very early developments. I had some sample boxes that I've got various age brackets here in the South, and friends and family testing, but just simple skincare, just dialing it back. Hundreds of years ago, it was soap and water, and now there's so many different ingredients. It's so overwhelming. So it's just basically, hopefully, a brand that is going to cut through the noise and fill that void, that easy skincare. Wash your face with this, wipe it with this.
I'm so excited about this.
Thank
well
you.
done. I cannot wait to see it and support it. If there's anything that I can do ever, I know I don't have teenage skin. I know I am not in that niche, but if there's anything that I can do, please let me know.
You know what, the side, it will start off as luxury boxes, which is for juniors, and there'll be the junior edit, and then the tool boxes, which are sponges and brushes and stuff. But there is going to be a serum box. So when I'm ready, I'll send you a box. And you could give me some unbiased, honest feedback.
I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. To do that is a huge step. And I cannot wait to interview you again in 30, 60 episodes.
I hope that I'm going to be the next Jules. I'm going to be the next Isle of Paradise.
In Superdrug. I'm seeing it right now.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, that's where it will be. That's my vision board. It will be, you'll be able to go into a Boots or a Superdrug, and you'll be able to buy my first cleansing box.
Oh my God, tingles.
Oh, good.
Sam, oh my God, I've just so enjoyed not only getting to know you more, but just hearing your story and your energy. Where can everybody find you?
So nice and easy. My socials are Bridal Makeup by Sam, across everywhere. So you'll find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
Oh my gosh, that's a really good handle, by the way. Well done for snapping that up. I cannot thank you enough. How was your first podcast?
I have loved it. I feel bad. I feel like I've talked so much, but it's lovely. It's really flattering. I can't believe I got to answer Smash the Gate questions. I wasn't prepared for it.
Every single person who's been on it that I've known, they've loved that part of the episode. They're like, what?
It is my favourite part of every single podcast. I love the quickfire question ends. I love them.
Oh my gosh, that means so much. Thank you so much for coming on today, Sam. Everybody, please go follow her. Her energy is so amazing and contagious.
Thank you for having me. I've really, really enjoyed myself.
You have been listening to a podcast by Kayleigh. Thank you so much for tuning in today and being on this mission with me to self-improvement and taking steps towards financial empowerment. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to follow me on the gram @ByKayleigh where I post pretty much daily. I would also love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and energy. So please do leave me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you are listening today. In the meantime, I want you to go forward, believe in yourselves, and be the change you want to see. Bye, guys.